Welcome to another episode of the Loren Lahav podcast, where we're celebrating our 5th year of bringing you the most fascinating, coolest humans on the planet. You know, I am cruising towards my 60th trip around the sun, and I've discovered something really magical. The world is packed with even more incredible stories than I ever imagined. And every week, it's like opening a surprise gift. You never know who's going to pop into our studio. Maybe it's a tattoo artist who became a quantum physicist, or a grandma who just climbed Kilimanjaro. We dive into the good, the messy, and the beautiful, sharing those awe moments, the epic fails that turn into beautiful wins, and the raw truth about owning who we really are. Because let's face it, life is way too short to pretend. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and join our tribe of authentic souls who aren't afraid to keep it real. This is where wisdom meets laughter and where every story matters. Let's dive in. Welcome, everybody. Well, I got another badass woman who's here with us, and wait till you hear her fabulous story and lessons that she has learned. Trace, you recovering from the weekend?
Oh my goodness, it's going to take me a couple days. You know, what's funny is I'm out in Vegas on Monday. So I'm like home for 3 days,
That's
and then I get to see
That's
you
right.
again.
I'm going to see you in a couple of days again. I'm so
That's right.
excited.
That's right. Can't get enough of Loren.
Those of you that are here in Vegas, or you in Nashville or in Austin, we are hosting these wonderful ladies' lunches every other month. And I think this is our 7th one. Crazy here in Vegas. It's just awesome to see all these women, if they've been here in Vegas for a long time, or just newcomers, or people like you that just want to fly in and come hang out and be with us. And yours was fabulous. You shared there in Nashville, our very first My Nashville. So we're doing a collaboration with My Nashville magazine, My Austin, and My Vegas. Speaking of which, the girls just did their photo shoot today. So pretty exciting watching them do their
From
photo
my
shoot to
Nashville,
be on the
yeah.
cover of
Or
My
for
Austin.
my Austin, yeah. They were so
Yes.
excited. I'm excited to see it because they were telling us a little bit about their color schemes and what they were going to wear. So
Isn't it interesting? I'm just thinking, I don't know where these interviews are going to go sometime, but when we're as we're talking about this, I was thinking about just, how we always talk about that you overestimate what you can do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in a decade. Well, I think we've had a pretty kick-ass year, if I think about it, because we started talking about doing this collaboration with my Vegas back in, it was February.
yes, it
And so
was.
it hasn't
Yeah.
even been a year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, remember
Yeah.
we got on the phone, everybody was out dancing and having a good
You know
time that
exactly
first
where I was
night.
standing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're sitting right
Absolutely. I was
over
so
there.
excited. I was so
Amazing.
excited. Yeah, Nashville was well, it took a minute to get it going, but then once it did, man, I'm super excited for the women that showed up there, and to continue to build on that. It was absolutely beautiful. And it was, for me, it was another testimony, another of that locking in who I have become and am becoming. It was the very first time I have ever flown in and flown out. And I mean, there was always that chance that I wasn't actually going to speak. I was really there for support. And, but that was the first time. And I did not let that moment pass, as, as I love to travel and things, but that the impact that I get to create and get to be a part of, to be able to fly in somewhere, do a little, I think I was on that little stage for about 15 minutes, and then I was off. But it wasn't even about that. It was just about the evidence that, everything is unfolding in front of me, and you're a huge testament to that. And as you said, man, we do overestimate what we can do in a year, but a lot of that overestimation comes with inaction, right?
Mhm.
And one thing that we have not been is inactive this year. And
Yeah.
then really in this last 2 years, but specifically I see the momentum that has happened from being in the wonderful group that you created, the TLC Mastermind. the True Legacy Mastermind that, you know, I got to surround myself, or I was privileged, blessed to surround myself with so many beautiful women this weekend from the TLC Mastermind, and some were 1 year and some were 2 years. And I really did. There was a moment, and I shared in that moment, but in that moment, recognizing that the 1 years are just getting their momentum,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so often we look at people that are ahead of us and say, well, why aren't I like getting the recognition or doing the things or da 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 da? But it's the momentum that the second years have. And I sat there going, I wonder what the third year would look like, right? Like, how do we bring the first years along without saying toot 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 toot, or more just like that big sister pull? Because that first year, it's about building momentum. It's about tearing away the layer that needs to be at least for me,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I
The
needed
layer that we don't want to like, it's kind of like that layer that we don't even realize we have that layer that's been stopping us. That's been,
yeah.
it's like this really thick layer that's been so just, it's like kind of like we've let it grow over everything, and that it's like, it's kind of like, and not that I cook that much as we know, but when you peel, other than I do have my new cookbook that just arrived that I've been working on forever,
I can't wait.
is that, but it's that one, that thick one that you're like, well, I don't know if I can get this one off, or is it going to be too hard? And then once you
Or
do,
if I take it off, what will I actually be? Right? It's been our protective coating for so long. And a lot of us, especially, that listen to your podcast and are in this world, we've been doing personal growth for a long time. Or
yep,
we know, we have this knowing. And, again, there's so many things that are just kind of this weekend, like I said, I had to write down like all the like highlights so that way I can go back and actually unpack everything. But one thing that I've noticed is um, that you can be really into personal growth and you can know this stuff, right? And all of a sudden you can start speaking it. So we start feeling what it is. But your conference that you do called Own Your Worth, such a beautiful title because that's what we all want, right?
right,
And we think we're getting there, but when we start to really embody our worth, that's the momentum that I'm talking about. Like I look around at the women that have been in our community for the last couple of years, and they're you can almost I was likening it to when you're doing one of those uh, when you're opening a safe and you get the combination just right, and then
hmm,
you hear it click 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 click, and then you can open, right?
right,
And that's the embodiment, right?
right,
It's like we want to do it fast, and that doesn't work. So then we back up and we do it again, and like we got to keep
yep,
getting, and it's that special sauce. And once that's what this year has been for me is the embodiment of who I am.
yep,
That I truly know my worth today.
yep.
And now I'm like, let's go. And that's what
Let's go, sister. Well, and then I mean, but there's something about you
Mhm.
that there's just something about you. And those of you that don't know, we have a Ruby Slipper Award, and I love it because when you came to True Voice, you're like, I'm winning those Ruby Slippers, and you did, and you were our very first Ruby Slipper winner, and you've been out there as an amazing coach for all those other people that have been through True Voice as well. But I want to talk a little bit about just you and our meeting was very divine and I thought it was really cool. But I love what an amazing entrepreneur that you are, and your backstory is so beautiful as well. But I know that you have your amazing Merlin's Market and you also have two fabulous pubs. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to dive into these pretty unique ventures and what
Mm.
it's meant for you as an entrepreneur.
I was not called to be an entrepreneur. I mean, like, I made more mistakes than I made right choices. I have constantly self-sabotaged but I've been so blessed with some really amazing jobs. One of the things that I think about is that when I was 15 years old, I got pregnant. And in that moment, I had decided to give my daughter up for adoption. And 3 days later, I'm picking my daughter up from the foster care and becoming a mother. Not something that any 16, at the time I was 16 now, should be making decisions on. But I made a decision to become a mother at that time. And in that, there were decisions that were going to have to be made financially. And I decided to go on the sales route. So I am really great with my voice. I'm really great at getting people to do what I want them to do. And I'm really great at selling an idea and selling a vision. So I was in sales and my mom had just passed away and I was lost. I was wondering what was next. I was living in a town that I felt like I was getting eaten alive. My brothers were looking to me to be something that I didn't know how to be. And I moved to Minneapolis in a sales role. And I have there was a lot of backstory there, but I became a sales rep in the food industry, something that I love. I loved being in the food industry, so I went back to it. And it was one fateful day that I put my business card in the back of this pub, this building this bar that had just closed and this new business that was starting. And that fateful day changed everything just by that one business card. And then going
That,
back,
my favorite quote, I'm just going to say this because it's my favorite Tony Robbins quote. And he says, it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped, right? We talk about that all. You and I talk about that one quote, whether that be you making the decision to keep your daughter, to keep your daughter, or that decision to put that business card in there, and how sometimes we minimize those moments, which really those are the moments that shape who we become,
that's right.
right? Well, what
So,
did that mean for you when you put that business card in? What did that really what did that kind of trigger for you, even putting it in there?
so you know what's interesting is I'll tell you just in this moment, I'll say that it wasn't anything, right? It was, and so often it is in that, right? We just do something. It was my job to put it in there. And then nobody called me. So I went back in. So now it's about just showing up again. It's in the showing up sometimes that I find and being open, right? So what that business card actually did for me though, is in the next year, I lost my job. I fell in love. I found the person that was going to take me on this beautiful adventure, both in personal and business. But that business card represents to me is that just showing up, right? So like right now I'm in the single mode. I just ended my almost 18-year relationship, personal relationship with Lee, but now we're still business partners. But I'm in the single mode and I keep remembering what an old boss said to me. I had moved to Grand Forks, North Dakota, and he said, "Have you met anybody?" Right? And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, do you go out?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Who do you think you're going to meet? The pizza delivery guy? Get yourself out there and meet people." And that night, I went out with a coworker. We went to a bar and I met the guy that I was going to spend the next 12 years with. So it's just showing up. Just do the deal. Put the postcard, put the business card, show up at a meeting, show up at an event, right? It's I'm not who am I going to meet here? I live by myself,
That's
right?
why, but that's why I love doing the luncheons as well. Like, I mean, decided to comp a bunch of ladies to come to the lunch next week because I want them just to show up. They're like, I would come. I'm like, well, I got your ticket for you. So just show up, just come. And then when you see those beautiful relationships that are developed, right. And it's just taking that first step, like you said.
Yes.
So you've
Yes.
shown up. So
The
you've shown
next
up during good times and bad times because like with your business, I know that it was right before that mandatory pause in the world. Maybe you could share a little bit about that, even showing up during those times when most people weren't showing up.
for sure. And just to back up, it's not quitting either. I wanted to quit so many times. And the one thing that because I was an entrepreneur and I was in a partnership with Lee, he wouldn't let me quit. Right. So it's on those days when they're the hardest that you keep showing up. Just don't quit. Um, it's on, it's that falling down 7 times and getting up 8, right? It's the 8th time that could be. I mean, I think it was Kentucky Fried Chicken went to like, what, 50 different places.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah. Colonel Sanders went to
Right.
almost 1,000. I think it was almost. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So it's
A
just
1,000 different
don't
banks. Yep.
don't quit. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on your dream. Don't quit. So what happened for us is in 2019, we were expanding our pub, Merlin's Rest, which is one of my pubs, Merlin's Rest Pub. We were expanding it because our kitchen was probably the size of some people's bathrooms. It's very small, and we were just outgrowing it. And in that moment, we decided that we were also going to buy another pub. It became available. Lee and I had a local that we used to go to. We called it the Dirty Taco Place. I would drink Modelo Especials and he'd watch football. He's European, so he would watch European football, soccer. And we had manifested this place and we decided it came available for owner. And so we bought a place and we opened on January 11th of 2020. I will say that on January 25th, Lee and I went to a leadership business conference for 5 days. And I believe that because we were feeding ourselves with knowledge, and we were surrounding ourselves with people that were doing what they were doing, and they were wanting to grow, that because we started to surround ourselves with people that they were moving forward, they weren't sitting in the mud. I believe that on March 17th of 2020,
Oh, yeah.
yes, St.
Oh,
Patrick's Day,
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
own British pubs. My busiest day of the year, when the governor said you have to close at 5 p.m., I believe that because we had done that 5-day conference, that also by showing up there was able to take us to where we needed to go for the next, well, really, I would say 2023, 2024 was when we finally feel ourselves coming out of the mandatory pause, as you put it. Lee called it the dreaded lurgy.
Oh gosh, but it's so crazy. I remember that day really well because I mean, you had to end at 5. I mean, here it was at 10 p.m. But I remember I was doing an event and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is happening here? I have a question. Both of your pubs are so deeply rooted in the community. What role do you think the community support has played in your success?
Mm. Well, first off, I would not be here today if it wasn't for the community, because we learned the pivot dance very well in 2020. But because of the community that we had at Merlin's Rest, that community didn't leave us. So when we pivoted to just doing takeaway, it was such a beautiful representation of, first off, the beauty of my beautiful staff, and then also our community, that we had to basically let all of our staff go, or they went on unemployment. But then we started to slowly create, people called them pods. They were the people that they only met with, right? So they didn't, they went to work or they met with those people, right? Like everybody kept themselves safe. And by the end of 2020, we had a pod of 20. So they were employees that didn't go to their families. They were single. Their only connection was Netflix or me, right? So they would come and they would volunteer. My staff would come and volunteer to work on the weekends.
Wow.
We were really busy because we were so busy.
Yeah.
And then the new community of Egan, man, they were just beautiful. They didn't know us and they still came to be fed by us, and it
Yeah.
was glorious.
So
I
community sounds like community is everything. I know another big thing is that your daughter works with you. And working with families, sometimes it's can be really rewarding, and sometimes it can also be a bit challenging. So what have been some of maybe the biggest lessons that you've learned from working with your daughter, and and I guess you can tell, and how has that strengthened your bond with each
Oh.
other?
Well, had I known that I was raising someone that would be my general manager, I would have had more children because I would have like brought them all into my business. I used to beg Nicole, like, when are you gonna come work for me? Like, she is so brilliant. She's worked for a major company. She's basically worked for two companies, this other company and me, right? So I am just so blessed. She is like in human design, and there's this beautiful, that's a beautiful gift of understanding who we actually are. And I'm a manifesting generator and she's a projector, and I always say I have the great ideas and then she figures out how to make them happen. She has great ideas too, I shouldn't say it like that, but so she started working for us in 2019. So before, well, maybe it was 2018, I can't really remember that date, but she had just started working for us. And then so the second pub was hers, and I am so incredibly blessed. It has not always been fun. In the beginning, it was hard, but also remember that I was a 16-year-old mom. So a lot of our years, we're 16 years apart. I have besties that are 16 years apart from me. So for us, we grew up together. And in some of those years, the first ones for sure, she was more the responsible mother one than I was. She was my grounding agent. She was the person that I couldn't just like, because I'm the squirrel, right? And if you're an immature squirrel, you're she was my she was my she was the person that held the kite string. I remember at one point in this personal growth journey of mine, I had to sit down with her and I had to say, my love, thank you. Thank you so much for all of those years that you were there to keep me tethered. But I'm good now. You can let go of the string. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was such a
Wow.
beautiful moment for her to say, my job is done, and
Yeah.
then start that dynamic of what a mother-daughter relationship looks like, and then what an employee-employer looks like.
Right.
So we had codes, right? Like, hey, I'm going to talk to you as my mom, as
Yep.
your mom, or I'd call and say, I need to talk to you as your employer right now. So
Yep.
she would like, all right, and get her nervous system in place.
I love that. That's so cool. What a gift.
Oh,
Man, what a gift. But like you said, there've been some ups and downs, but look at what you guys have created, you
yeah.
know? What truly that you've created. Is there like a fun, maybe crazy moment in your business journey that reminds you why you love what you do so much and why I love your mince pie so much?
Oh, I love you so much. So just to back up with Nicole and I, we've gotten so good that we decided that we'd open a third business, and we opened Merlin's Market, which is forearm mince pies. And originally it was called Nana Tay-Tay's because I was becoming a nana. I was going to be, she has blessed me with this most beautiful, precious gift. His name is Benjamin. So I was becoming a Nana, and then my niece used to call me Tay Tay because she couldn't say Tracie, so she'd say Tay Tay. And now my grandson calls me Tay Tay, and it's the most beautiful gift ever. The oh my gosh, there are so many beautiful memories. I mean, 18 years of being in business, I have the most amazing. So, you know what keeps me going? Hmm. It's when it's a busy Friday night and our butts are being handed to us because we are moving. But when I take that moment and I close my eyes and I can hear the glasses chinking together and the forks on the plates and the people talking and laughing, some are singing, I just stop. I just stop and I remember that I helped create that. I helped create this environment that people can come and they can enjoy and they can mourn and they can celebrate and they can meet new loves and they can get proposed to. I have even had weddings in my pub. I've had celebrations of life. I remember one time where two besties were telling each other that one was sleeping with the other's wife. Um, and then they got up and they started playing bagpipes together. I mean, like, I have seen it all. I fell in love with Lee there. I've watched so many people fall in love. It just really, like, that is why I own a pub and not a bar and not a restaurant, because it's so much about community and connection. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why
I
I own a pub.
love that. I just felt like I was in a movie. While you were just telling me that, I felt like I was literally in a movie, and seeing all those beautiful celebrations and seeing those tears and I love that. I remember,
Yeah.
awesome. So my final question, I want to be respectful of your time. This has been so great. I love this. What advice would you give to another person that's thinking of either starting a business, maybe like balancing community and family and your dreams, I mean, like you said, like you were a young mom, like you didn't really know, but now that you've done this and you've had so many ups and downs, what would you say to somebody who's like, I really want to do this, I really want to go for it, I want to start my business? What would you say to them? What would be your advice?
What would be my advice? Well, I first would say honor your word, right? One of your favorite books is tell me again, it's the 4 agreements,
Four
right? Is that what
agreements for sure. Yep.
agreements? And one of them is honoring your word. And one thing that I stopped doing is I stopped dishonoring the word that I give myself, right? I am very quick, and I think that, the people at least that I surround myself with are very quick about taking care of others and making sure that others are sticking to their word, right? We want our children to stick, like if they say something like, that's what you said, like we do it, right? And I am the master at going to bed with all these bright ideas for tomorrow and then waking up with the alarm clock or whatever, and then negotiating before I get out of bed on what I'm going to do. And I stopped doing that. I stopped the minute I started negotiating with myself. I changed that to, ooh, this must be good. This
Mhm.
must be something I really, really need to do. If my whole whatever this is
Essence. Yeah.
telling me that I shouldn't do it,
Yep.
right? So I try not to make different decisions if I make a decision in a high state, I don't negotiate that decision from a low state. So
Love it.
I would say that if you want to be an entrepreneur and you have a great idea, I would say don't negotiate with
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
Honor that word, walk down the road, see where it takes you. Resistance doesn't always mean a no. Resistance is sometimes what we have to go through to really get to the other side. It's falling down 7 times and getting up 8, or it's falling down 70 times. It's making mistakes so every time you get better, right? I love making mistakes. I love the challenge because every single time it's an opportunity to ask myself, how could I improve? What could I do differently? What went well? And what can I go and do a little different? I'm actually in the process. I have had so many people tell me, write a book, write a book. And, no, I don't, I mean, I used to skip language class, right? My teacher said that I was the worst in English. And, but the last thing of my book that I want to write about is hospitality, because that's what I know. And it's really about filling our own cup and making sure that we're always pouring from our own cup. So I just don't negotiate with myself anymore.
I love that. You know that. You know that, sister. I love this.
Right.
So, one final question. What's one thing that you do to stay true to yourself every day, no matter what?
Prayer.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Mm.
always in communication, connection, communion with my God, with this beautiful creator that put me here. I just want to share one thing. I feel that it's really I hear a lot that women are like, I don't know my purpose. I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And what I used to be that same person. Oh my gosh, right? Like I have all this inside me. I have greatness inside me. What am I supposed to do with it? And what I have found for myself, it's all about love.
Mhm.
Everything.
Amen.
Your only purpose is love.
Yep.
The more we love, and it starts with us, and the more we love ourselves, the more we have the capacity to give love. And the more love that we give and receive, the more our purpose is just that. We don't
Yep.
need to write a book, write a book. Page 160, just saying.
You found yourself.
Oh my gosh, it was like it magically opened to my page. The more that we just love, the more the purpose of what you're meant to do, the amplifying of your heart will happen. You don't have to chase it. It's
I
already here.
agree. I agree. It's so
That's
funny
me.
that makes me think of when I've told the story before, but I talk about when I was in Portland and Quinn was like cranky, and I went to go see Richard Bach, and as I go in, he would not just be quiet, and there was like 2,000 people there, and I went out and I just connected with my son, and I like walked in like right when he fell asleep, and you know how you're always in the room when you need to be in the room, and someone asked him, "What's the purpose of life?" And he says, "How much did you love? The good times, the bad times, you know, how much did you really love?" And here's what I'd love to say. I love you. I am so grateful that you're in my life. And I can't wait to come to see you in a couple of days
I know.
again.
And then
So
I see you at the end of the month. I mean, like
that's
seriously,
right. It's
we
crazy.
might as
That's
well just
right.
move in
Back in
together.
Minneapolis. All right. Well, how can people find out about you, Tracie, and all that you've got going on?
So I own 2 British pubs in Minneapolis or in the Minneapolis area. I own Merlin's Rest Pub. We're celebrating 18 years in April this next year. I own Egan Arms Public House. Make sure you remember those initials, EAPH. That will be 5 years in January. And really, if you're not in Minneapolis, where I'd really love people to check me out is merlinsmarket.us. And that's where I sell my mince pies. I ship nationwide, British goodies, British really good food, pasties,
For
savory pies.
sure.
Yes. So that's
For sure.
it. And then be on the lookout for my new book.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, my love. And make sure you check it out. And you're going to love Merlin's Market. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great one.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Loren Lahav podcast. I hope you're walking away feeling totally inspired, energized, and ready to take on whatever comes your way. If you enjoyed our conversation today, wait till you hear what's coming up next. Speaking of which, mark your calendars because something incredible is happening March the 7th through the 9th. The Own It experience is coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on this transformational event. We're talking breakthrough moments, powerful connections, and tools that you can truly own your journey. Can't wait until then. Here's how you can stay connected. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Just search for the Loren Lahav podcast, and don't forget to tap that follow button. For all the behind the scenes goodness and daily inspiration, follow me on Instagram at I am Loren Lahav. And if you're loving what you're hearing, spread the love, share this episode with a friend who needs to hear this message. Want to dive into everything we're talking about today? Click the link in the show notes so that you can access exclusive resources, connect with our amazing community, and learn more about the Own It experience in March. Your transformation awaits. Until then, remember your story matters, your voice matters, and you got this. See you on the next episode.